this computer. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Walmer CC podcast, episode 2, season 2022. We're joined by a local cricketing legend today, and that isn't Eoin Maguire. Anyone watching on the YouTube video will see Alan Amos down below me on the video. We'll get to Alan in a minute. Let's get the admin out of the way. If you are watching us on YouTube, like and subscribe to the channel. If you are listening to us, please leave us a 5-star review, share our videos and our podcasts around. Don't forget, we've got a buy me a coffee set up. It just, if you want to make a small donation, you can, but the content will always be free. Don't worry too much about that. Eoin Maguire, how are you, mate?
Yeah, well, good. Thank you. Yeah, you're getting very, very efficient and professional with the intro.
I'm trying. And Alan Amos, Sandwich CC cricketing legend. Thank you for joining us. How are you, sir?
I'm great, thank you. Lovely to see you both.
Yeah, good to have you on. And this is something that we're going to try and do a bit more of. Obviously, we're a bit short on content at the minute because we haven't got any cricket to talk about at Walmer CC. So what we're going to do in this episode, we're going to pick Eoin's brains about the upcoming fixture. We're going to go over to Alan. He's going to give us an all-time cricket in 11 of local people he's played with and against and a bit of that. And then we're going to just talk about the current state of English cricket, the Test team, the T20, you know, because we haven't actually got any Walmer content to bring you as such. So we thought we'd just offer that up. So, Eoin, nets, Walmer CC, 2 lots of indoor nets and 1 lot of outdoor nets. How did they go, mate?
Yeah, pretty, like, considering, pretty solid start. Like, although, like, numbers don't always equal, like, quality, do they? But I was quite happy with it. Like we said, hopefully a bit more, like, enthusiastic and get more, like, of a kind of, like, semi kind of like pro-ish set up to it and try and actually structure like a bit of like warm up rather than just turning up and everyone bowling like 1 ball every 5 minutes. And I was I was pretty happy. It's a pretty good vibe. Like we carry it, like if we start the season strongly, you kind of generally see training high, don't you? Whereas if we sack off the first couple of games and underperform, then generally by May it all stops. So I'm quite happy with how we're progressing, mate. Pretty solid start. Can't complain.
Good stuff. And the boys down at Sandwich been heavy into the nets already, Al?
Yeah, they've been netting since start of February indoors, and they start outdoors in about 48 hours, I think. So.
Oh, blimey. Crikey. So that's heavy. That's heavy workload. All the bowlers have already put a few overs in there.
I went to watch last week, and it looked pretty professional to me, I tell you. Too much for an old man like me.
A retired old man now, Alan.
I'm retired from work, yes.
Eoin, update on the overseas. When's he touching down?
Oh, who knows? Who knows?
Is that done?
I think he's had all his visa stuff confirmed, so fingers crossed by the end of the month. But obviously we start a week earlier, don't we, than Sandwich? And I don't know why we've started a week earlier. We start on the 30th of April. So if he's not here for then, not the end of the world, and then he's still got 17 games in. But I think he should be here by the end of the month, hopefully. When's yours over, Mossy?
Well, he's been over already, apparently. He's got a brother in Norway who's gone off to visit. And then he's back for, I think, about the second friendly of the season. So he's back ready for the start of the league season.
Oh,
nice, man.
Yeah. According to his stats and what I've seen on video and a little bit of TV, he's wheels. So I wouldn't want to be standing 22 yards away from him with a bat in my hand.
I'm unavailable for that friendly, Eoin.
When we win the bat and they got the grovel up.
Well, while you mentioned his stats, Alan, while you're here, and everyone watching this will know your good self, but I have got your stats in front of me. Just the 5,239.3 overs on play cricket, Alan. I just wanted to know one thing. What on earth happened in the year 2009? 630 overs.
Really?
Was you must have played every single fixture.
Must have been a good summer, mustn't it? So probably what was that the season? I got 165 wickets.
In that season, you got, it's saying, yeah, probably 2000. Yeah, 169 wickets, best of 5 for 10.
Yeah. That was against Steel Vicks. You like to know that.
I've got wickets against Steel Vicks.
Yeah, played bowled all them overs. We played every Saturday, every Sunday, and every midweek. I think it worked out. I virtually got 55 wickets, 60 wickets per. So Saturdays I got 49 that season, and then the other rest was split between midweek and Sundays. I think that might have been the last season of Mr. Beaumont might have played at Sandwich.
He gets mentioned every now and again on this podcast, but I've got a note in front of me not to make any Kev Beaumont jokes.
Wickets is some going, though, isn't it? That's pretty.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, anyone who only bowls between the hours of 6:50 and 7:15 is going to get a few wickets. Alan, let's get to know you a little bit more before we get into it. I've played against you for years. I probably must have played against you the first time 20 years ago. Are you Sandwich through and through? Was there anything before Sandwich that we might not know about, youngsters like me and Owen?
Sandwich through and through, yes. In the old days of the Kent League, if you wanted to play that standard, you had to go and play for a Kent League side. Yeah. Which was, when was that? For me, 90-ish. And I went down to Dover.
Okay.
Played down at Dover. There was a few Sandwich lads who went off in the time. There was Stuart Smith, Steve Willard, myself, Tony Kerwin, Kevin Beaumont. We all went off and played Kent League cricket for a year or two with other clubs. On a Saturday, I was lucky enough to play in a season with Justin Langer in the side. Yeah, that's Stu Milroy gave us a whole episode about that. He talked through quite a few of the fixtures of that particular summer, actually. Yeah, I remember I skippered one of those games, and it was the only game that Justin got a 0. But after that, it's just been Sandwich Town. Sandwich Town all the way through, yeah. No, good man. And when people are silly enough to ask me to come and play for them. So now that we sort of this time in the podcast, normally we'd sort of go on and have a look back at Walmer's progress over the previous weekend, the ups and the downs, the goods and the not so goods, wouldn't we, Owen? We would, yeah. Let's just go through let me switch the iPad over. Let's just go through. Walmer have got a fixture this coming Saturday. So just talk me through your side, Owen, because you're obviously going to skip that game. You've got a home fixture against a Canterbury or University of Kent side. So I like this time of year because it's Mr. Furness makes himself available for absolutely everything. He'd be available for a paper round, I reckon, this time of year. But he's made the 11. Talk me through the 11. It looks strong. I don't really know Isaac, or maybe if they're juniors, perhaps I won't mention their name. I know most of the names, but are you happy with the 11?
Yeah, we're missing from I've kind of congregated about 15, kind of 16 man first team squad members, and we've got about 6 or 7 missing from them. So all things considered, they're not too bad because we're missing Martin North, Liam, Kieran, Loz, AB all the way this week. Tom Mitch not playing. Yeah. So considering that, pretty happy. Hopefully, obviously we got a Victonian, and which isn't the best news, but he can have a little run up. He
won't get an official cap for it.
Well, yeah, exactly. I'll present his cap before the game.
And good to see my pick for Player of the Year, George Bailey, in the 11. Already.
Right. Well, because he's my mate, that means I have to give it to him. George Bailey, because he's got good crack.
Right. Well, let's wish everyone well for this coming Saturday, and let's keep up that sort of good. Let's take what we've got from the nets and hopefully take that into the first fixture, Owen.
Yeah, fingers crossed, mate. I think it sounds like a good idea playing on the 9th of April until you go and get a fucking first baller, doesn't it?
It does. And I'm just looking out my window at the impending weather over there. That's not going to improve until the weekend. But there you go.
Brilliant.
Let's go over to Alan because we've got him on. He doesn't want to listen to us talk too much. Alan, before we get talking about all things England and what's going on with the test side and the 2020, is it ruining the test side? talk us through. Did I ask you to do an all-time 11 of people you've played with and against, or what did I task you with?
Well, you give me a task of getting a side together, which I wouldn't want to play against.
Yeah.
That I've played against over the years, and what I've tried to do is do it with names that younger people would still know.
Yeah, that's good.
I could have done a completely different side, going back 40 years, and I don't think many people would have known that are in on your podcast. So I kept it to, people who are around and about and still around and about now. Probably most of them are still playing.
Oh, that's good. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's hear this Alan Amos all-time 11 then.
So we'll start. It's in a sort of batting order. It got trickier as I went down. So started off with James Bond from Broadstairs.
Yes. Yeah. Hard hitting.
Tremendous batsman. One great memory of James is played a 2020 game years ago in the Tannic Cup final at Minster. Not the best of wickets. Pitched the first ball up to him when I come off 20-yard run up. This is, and he dispatched me straight back over the pavilion. First ball of the game. Consequently,
are you talking to him yet?
Yeah, I've just started talking to him now. It was only 40 years ago.
very, very strong start.
Yeah. And then we've got 3 members of your club, actually, guys.
Go on, then.
So we start off with the aforementioned Mr. Furness.
Oh, so nice.
He will. You've made his. He hasn't put his spikes on, and his cricket season has been made, Alan.
All right. I've got him in to open the batting, and I keep wicket. One of the best pair of hands I've ever seen playing against all over Kent. To be honest, not just East Kent. Very sharp, and had the fortune to play with him a couple of times in Kent over 50s, and best wicketkeeper who kept to me bowling spin. So,
I mean, on his day, I mean, I played a lot with Andy. His batting, I probably started playing with Andy just after. Well, his batting was still very good, but I mean, I remember his keeping was always first class, wasn't it? It's just like Alan says, it was.
When he concentrated, especially playing those Kent over 50 games that I played in a couple of times, he concentrated like hell. And honestly, he could have been a first-class wicketkeeper.
Yeah.
It's not even a transition, is it? It's kind of like one movement. It's so fluid.
Right. Yeah.
Who's gonna come in at number 3, first down then?
Well, somebody's probably sitting on a mower on your ground.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, he's not, because he thought about coming on the podcast.
Did he? Oh, right, Mr. Marsh. Played against him a few times, but also in the days of Dover, played with Lawrence, and one of the best, most consistent batsmen I played against. Really, he had tremendous shape and still has when he bats. Very difficult to bowl at, and if he doesn't want to get out to, he won't get out to you.
Yeah. I mean, we've had a few all-time 11s early on in the podcast. It was the sort of thing we started with to get a bit of content, and Lawrence featured very heavily for his batting, obviously, and Mr. Furness featured very heavily for his wicket keeping. So no surprise to see them in sort of pop up in your side, Alan.
And then the next one is your chairman, Mr. Milroy.
Yeah, Stuart. Yes.
Played with Stuart for a long time, obviously. Tremendous batsman and obviously a really good off spinner. And got a good cricket brain on him as well. So
I think that's it, isn't it? That's what you get. And it's like when you play with someone like Martin North now, Owen, isn't it? He's probably not going to make Mossie's 11, but it's that good cricket brain. You know, it's you could put Stuart anywhere on the cricket field, couldn't you? You could put him down at fine leg and he'd probably still influence the game somehow.
It's reading the game as well, isn't it? It's people who read the game when they're fielding and everything, and what's going to go and happen.
Exactly.
You know, they just make themselves that much better, don't they?
Yeah.
And speaking about people who read the game and understand it, the next one on the list coming in at 5 is Mr. Derek Toe.
Played my first senior game of cricket with Derek, guested for us. We were away at Hyde, Worth Cricket Club, first Saturday fixture of the year, and I got 87 runs, and I think Derek talked me through every single ball of that innings.
Yeah. That's great strength to Derek, and another man with a tremendous cricket brain.
Yeah.
Really good batsman, knows what he's doing, and obviously can bowl a bit as well. So
yeah, one of life's really good people as well, isn't he? You could sit and talk with Derek, or for hours on end, and he
really chuffed for him being in the side that won the over 60s county championship last season.
Oh wow, well done.
Really brilliant. That's great for him. Moving forward then to number 6, and as we go down the list here, everybody bats and bowls. So
yeah,
next person is from Ash.
Go on then.
Mr. Dudgeon.
Oh, Timmy
Dudge. Yes.
I didn't like facing him it was like a octopus trying to escape a fishing net when he was sort of running in it. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we played Ash this year, and he's still playing, isn't he?
Hey, still playing.
I think we play Ash this year, and I think he still plays, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's still playing. Yeah, played against him last season.
Yeah.
As Stu said, always hated batting against him when I got the opportunity, and I didn't like to bowl at him because he just whacked me all over the park, whether it was seam up or spin.
He came to Sandwich for a few years, didn't he, Alan, and was very successful.
Yeah, he came and played in the first team, and absolutely, yeah, he did. He won one game. I remember we played up at Sevenoaks, and we were like, I don't know, 40 for 5, chasing 220, and he went in and got 100 off we got about 130 off about 60 balls and won the game for us. We were dead and buried.
I remember I didn't bowl much, but I used to keep wicket, and when he was batting, I just used to think, this guy's a walking wicket, and then the ball had just vanished to all parts of the ground.
Absolutely, doesn't look like to have any technique, but wow, can he hit it around the park?
He can.
I think it's speed of seeing the ball, and I think that probably comes from his days of being a professional skier. So,
okay, yeah, was he one of the mogul skiers? Was he?
He went to Nagano Olympics, didn't he? So
okay,
yeah.
So he's stark raving bonkers skiing them things.
Yeah, he absolutely loaded. They are. He'd tell you that and all.
Yeah. Who's next then, Mossy?
Right, next one, a Worth man.
Oh, go on. I should know him.
Yeah, Mr. Spence.
Well, you'd probably know Bob from Dover as well, would you then, Mossy?
Absolutely. Played with him at Dover. Played against him lots of times, and he's been nice enough to invite me to the President's game at Worth a few times and things like that. Great cricketer, another knowledgeable cricketer, very good bat, and a good bowler as well. He sorts lots of people out with his bowling.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the best player that I played with consistently, because I played the majority of my cricket sort of at Worth with Bob Saturdays, and when we played in the worked our way through the sort of KVL in the early years, and we came across some really bad cricketing sides in those early years, but when we came across the good sides, and Bob was always the one scoring the runs when it mattered.
No, he's a great player, Bobby. Great man as well.
Yeah. Another mad teacher.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Right, moving down then we come to an older player from Walmer who no longer plays.
Oh, I'm not going to guess. It doesn't bowl dodgy off spin, does he?
No, Mr. Holiday.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. He's again featured in a few sides last year, didn't he, Eoin?
Big
of a certain generation. Yeah.
Yeah, great cricketer. Good bowler. Put it on the dot, moved it around a little bit, and batted very well. Used to hit it very well straight.
Yeah.
Very good player, Phil. Always have him in the side that if I had to pick a side. So I could not leave him out, even though he's older one, and
Yeah. No, good to see him in there.
Yeah. Next one, another Ash man.
Okay.
One of the Laslick clan, Danny.
It's probably not going to be. Is it going to be Steve?
No, Danny.
Danny. Yeah.
Great boy. Hits the ball very hard. If you were in a bit of trouble, often I played against him and he'd come out there and smack the ball around the park 50, 60 very quickly. Played with him a couple of times. Such a nice man. over the white line and in the bar as well. So a great cricketer. We'll always have him in the side. And then we've got two left.
Go on.
Two guys who, well, one I'd have at number 10. I'd probably have him at number 5, but and he'd have himself at number 1 is Mr. Parnell from St Margaret's. In the days when he was young, 20 years old, so I don't know, 20 years ago, I suppose, I don't know, perhaps a bit more.
He's my age, so he's 42. So yeah.
So when he was 20, he bowled quite sharp.
When he was 11 and 12, he bowled quite sharp. He used to, because he was a Deal Vicks. I was a Walmer junior, and Mark was a Deal Vicks junior, and they had Mark Parnell and they had Johnny Ludlam's son, Neil Ludlam, and those two for 11-year-old cricketers, it was like facing Courtney Walsh and Curtly Ambrose.
He's a heavy bowler, isn't he? It's a heavy.
Yeah.
He doesn't bowl anymore, does he? He can't.
He's back.
No.
That's, isn't he? So, but
he likes to take advantage of those short boundaries at St Margaret's.
Yeah, straight especially.
Well, that's a brilliant 10. Who's going to round off the 11?
Well, we've had one toe, so we might as well have two. Clive.
Yeah.
Clive, well, he played at Dover as well. Got the ball through sharp and bowled quite a heavy ball. He knew what he was doing. He had a brain on him and bat as well. So actually he skippered a few times in the Kent over 50s I played in. So he knew his cricket and he knew his angles and knew what he was doing. And he wasn't back when he coming forward and telling people their fortune. I
was going to suggest that. I mean, he was a family friend, or is a family friend. Jamie used to play a lot of sports with my middle brother, so sort of my mum got on with Clive, as did we all. But I remember he was. I wouldn't say he was nasty bowler, but he was very aggressive, and he let you know what he was thinking, even if I was 15 and playing batting number 9 or 10 for Worth. Oh, it's all right. It's only Clive. I'm sure he'll be nice. Absolutely no chance. Thanks, Clive.
Yeah, no. So that's the 11 I picked. As I said at the beginning, I wouldn't want to play against that side. On the other hand, I reckon that side could fall apart because they all like to go for it.
I mean, it's a batting heavy side, but with a lot of good bowling options. But yeah, potentially 600 in a 50 over game, potentially all out for 84.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, no, thank you for that 11 out, and there will be plenty of people who listen to this. Well, there's not plenty of people, but people who listen to this will appreciate some slightly different names in there, because the 11s that we put together last year, you wouldn't have got your Mr. Dudgeons and your Danny Laslets in there, all very good local cricketers that sort of my generation, certainly I grew up playing against, the Laslet boys, Vernon and Steve in their prime really as well. And then you'd come across other sort of Ash legends on a Sunday, like Mr. Tony Squires, who'd wallop you absolutely everywhere. And then every now and again, Stuart Smith would turn out for Ash on a Sunday, and you'd think, oh my word, what's going on here? Talking about potentially all out for 84, let's move the conversation on to what else we've said we're going to discuss. So we're going to talk a bit of English cricket now, while I've got Alan and his good cricket in brain, and Eoin and his young cricket in brain. Eoin, the England cricket side, we'll go on to the other stuff in a bit, but the England cricket side, they're sitting bottom of the ICC test rankings. I know the stats can be slightly skew-if because we've played so many more games than the sides like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Zimbabwe, who you might normally find right down the bottom. But you can't hide from the fact that we've lost the majority of those games we've played. And the side's not doing too well. Give us some initial thoughts, Eoin, on what you think might be the problem.
Yeah, I'll try not to be like too negative like Jonesy's social media. But it's a good question, isn't it, mate? Because they've obviously got like a plethora of like coaches and psychologists and strength and conditioning coaches. The players can't stay fit, can they? They've obviously
the bowlers certainly, and Stokes, the all-rounder, is hasn't been fully fit for probably 4 or 5 years.
Exactly, and the selection policy that they've gone with to try and like counteract the players' mental health and the COVID bubbles, etc. Like, it's just kind of, they've kind of been too sports sciencey with it, I think, haven't they? And like they've got kind of probably looking at it with too much like detail and like a depth of like data, rather than thinking maybe we need to just fucking get our head down and like win the next game, really. And like, you can use, I know like you have like films like Moneyball and stuff like that, but I think they've overinvested in like too much of this kind of like, right, let's get this person fit for this ground, and they've read grounds and pitches wrong at every corner, haven't they? Like,
well, I think we've been doing that since Nasser Hussain's infamous reign as Test captain.
Even in the Ashes recently, like when they didn't pick Broad and Anderson for the first or second Test, I forget, but like, yeah, and like we've said loads of times, at any level in sport, when you start winning, winning's a habit, and like you just it colludes to like a culture, doesn't it? So I don't know, maybe when they break the mold, but I think they've kind of looked at it far too deeply. And I know Broad said this a lot.
Yeah.
He's probably been a bit too outspoken, but they just need to plan for the next game, win that, and then they go from there. And I think that's what they've done under Flower. If you watch that documentary, it's good, wasn't it? They didn't look too far ahead, and you've got a plan for an Ashes, but you've got a plan for the next game.
Well, you've got to head into these series feeling fit. But if you can go into the series having won the previous one, or certainly performed to your best with the best players available, I don't know. Just going back to your point there, and I don't know if anyone watched the Sean Dyche very brief interview after the football yesterday, and they asked him what he told him at half time, and he just simply said that it's Everton. These guys don't know how to win a football match. Go out and make them think about having to win this one. And
yeah, I think England we're a bit soft, aren't we? Like, if we get if a team takes 2 wickets against us, they know they've got us on their ropes, don't they?
Yeah,
we're a bit fucking pushover, I think. Maybe, don't know if they've got a bit of grit about them anymore.
We're Everton.
Yeah.
We're Everton.
We'll go into some more specific points I've got written down in front of me, Alan. But would you give us do you want to give us a general overview of what you think might be wrong with just the general Test side, the general setup at the minute?
Do you know what? I don't think there's too much wrong with the players that are in there.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that they try to blood maybe 2, 3, 4 youngsters instead of putting one in there and let that person get into the game, get into the side, get to know them, and then bring another one in when they need to. I think really the problem is, as in life, as in business, the problems start at the top.
Yeah.
And when you've got people at the top who, okay, they were involved in cricket, and I have been involved in cricket, but think they know what's good for now and not what was good 20 years ago. It is a problem. The coach, well, I thought when Silverwood was given that job, I thought, well, why the hell have we given somebody who was a club cricketer who made good in county cricket, and all of a sudden he's come from nowhere to be the coach of the side? And we need high profile coaches in this country. People have got to look up to the coach, and I don't think when he was put in charge it went downhill. I don't think people looked up to him. He didn't have the big record. He didn't have the big record as a international cricketer or anything. And people in that change rooms, well, it would have been my thought, what's this guy doing in charge? What did he ever do in cricket?
Yeah. And I think if you look back to the sort of Langer reign under a he took on a not failing Australia side, but he took on a slightly under strength Australia side. And although a lot of people didn't agree with a lot of things he did and his manner, his personality, he had a rock solid career, a rock solid background that people had to respect. He came through that Australian side. He retired, dare I say, probably at the right time. He got out of the game when he was successful. He didn't drop off and make Australia to sort of drop him. Yeah, I miss and Chris Silverwood. For me, he's not going to listen to this, so I'm sure. But he seemed to get the job by hanging around and being part of the setup, put in some due diligence behind the scenes, and sort of got made up almost. You know, he got made up from a lower position because of hours served potentially.
And then they made him chief selector on top of that, didn't they? It's just like it's crazy.
Mossy said that he's quite happy with the sort of the majority of the players there, and we're going to get on to that at sort of the end of the chat. We're going to go through potentially some 11s for that first test in the summer, but are we producing enough, Owen? It's been talk that county cricket it's this 2-tiered system that was introduced years ago now, and that was promotion and relegation was going to make every county match, everyone was going to be fighting for their place, and you've got these 6 or 7 counties with basically central contracts for England fixtures. Your Notts, your Yorkshires, your Lancashires, they're going to be rolling in the money. But we're not producing the talent. That's obvious. People like Kevin Peterson have said it for years. Why aren't we producing the talent, Owen?
Yeah, it is a good question, isn't it? I don't want to be too cliche about it, but
you're the man of cliches. Yeah,
you could say that, boy. Who knows? They probably are. It's an arduous season, isn't it? They have to go. They play county cricket in April and then play it again in September, where it's going to be seaming and nipping around a lot.
Yeah,
but they're pro athletes. They're professional sportsmen, so they should be able to adapt to that, don't they? I don't know. Like, you look at people coming to the Test team now, and they're averaging like 32 in first class cricket, and they're expected to come and average 45 plus in a Test team. Like, I don't know how quantifiable that is. It's just like you said. What do? Do they go to not basically come second in the county championship this year, but then because they've gone back to Div 1, Div 2, they're in Div 2 still. So it's like the best county team in the country is now playing Division 2 cricket. And Stuart Broad was talking again about that. He's like, am I going to get back in the England team playing Division 2 cricket? No, I'm not.
No.
So who knows? It needs a massive overhaul. In India, they only play about 10 games a year, don't they? So it's not about the amount of games you play. It's about using that opportunity and taking every single time you bat or bowl as a chance to improve yourself, rather than thinking, I've got 17 more games there, which is 34 innings if you're a batsman.
So Mossy, is a potentially an answer to thin the game down, get rid of some of the smaller counties, and in theory have one strong 8 to 10 team Division 1, but then how does that work out? Because halfway through the season, a team sitting in 7th, 6th, and 7th, they're not getting relegated, so they're just going to turn their arm over and pick their wages up.
I don't think it's a bad idea. I think to do that, you have 8 or 10 teams, but you also have 8 or 10 second 11s as well. And you go back to, I don't know, 60s and 70s, when the second 11 championship was just as big as the first, well, not as big, but the big backup to the first 11 championship. And if you have 8 or 10 sides, you've got 16 or 20 sides still. And if people aren't performing in the first 11, and they would have to perform because in effect, biggest structure of a club, they get dropped to second 11 cricket. Yeah. But they're still playing at a higher standard than, what is it now? You've got second 11s who you have 2 or 3 counties who join together and play some second 11 cricket, or they go and play Premier Division cricket at the same standard that Sandwich are playing in. And you look at it's a good standard, Premier Division cricket in county cricket, but I think we need a overhaul and maybe something that is totally different.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin Peterson has suggested a franchise-based system, hasn't he? But what happens? I mean, we're not going to be able to come up with an answer. I just can't see, because it would be the likes of Kent, You know, your Derbyshires, your other
Leicester.
smaller counties, yeah, Leicester potentially, even, you know, down the coast at Sussex. You know, they get the international fixtures, don't they? But do we just wave goodbye to them? I don't know. I don't see that ever happening. But at the moment, it seems like something drastic needs to happen to improve that pool that we're drawing on to put a Test 11 out.
I think it goes back again. If you go back to I know it's a long time ago, but the 70s, Kent were one of the top sides. And if you suggested to Kent then that they were going to be disbanded, all hell was let loose. Again, some of these counties that are floundering, it is financial and it is through very poor management over the years.
Yeah.
And it's getting those counties back to where they were. Now, I haven't got a solution for that, but there must be a solution out there in some way. Kent sold off half of their ground at Canterbury, didn't they? Put flats on it because they wanted the money, and never went through with the main plan of putting a couple of big hotels on there, which would have brought in a lot of money. I don't know. It was going to be. I can remember that in the late 70s they were talking about making Canterbury a Test match venue. And it all went downhill from then. Again, it's people at the top and people who are in charge who actually haven't got cricket really in their blood, I think.
we could go on to a chat about Man United listening to that.
Well, true, absolutely, yeah.
Eoin, the test grounds, they're massive. They are purpose-built international sports stadiums now, aren't they? And quite rightly, the tests will be held there, and you would never really expect a test match to come to Derbyshire or Kent. It just doesn't make financial sense. But could it help? You know, we need to see potentially some one day and some T20 cricket. Will the ECB, will they ever spread it there? Because if they're only going to make let's use a simple number. If they're going to make £100,000 hosting a match at Canterbury, but they can make £1 million hosting it at the Oval, there's only one thing that's going to happen, isn't there?
Yes, it kind of reminds me about the debate that is quite right at the moment, that women's sport gets brought up, isn't it, at the moment, with their exposure, isn't it? It's like that old debate. It's like the same with women's rugby in the Six Nations. They go to grounds like Exeter, at Stanley Park, to Leicester, to play at Welford Road, to play at the Stoop. They never, or that if they do play, it's at Twickenham before the men's or after the men's.
So it's already full.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So it's the same. It's what do you do? Who knows? I know that England Lions will play at Kent, won't they? And the ladies will play at Kent. But like you said, there is so much cricket now that you could do it. But is that then going to improve the test team? Probably not. Is it? Who knows?
So let's move on to let's move the direction slightly and come to Mossy over there. The T20 revolution that's been going on for the best part of 20 years now. I love cricket. I'm quite happy watching T20. I will watch the test match when it's on. But the 100, Alan, it's come up with, it's come against some opposition, but it's still wonderful cricket to watch, really. There's some tight games, but is all this 2020 cricket and the space it's taken up on the English summer must be having an impact on that England test team?
There's a massive impact on the England test team. Those that play in it, even the England test players, they're not playing what I would call proper cricket.
Yeah.
It is a version of cricket that's out there, and I think it will always stay. And people are becoming known as 2020 specialists and things like that.
Yeah.
If they're really, really good players, top class elite performers, I think they should be able to play any form of cricket. But does it do it any good? The 100, I think, has come in with a couple of really good innovations where we're talking about ladies, they do have the ladies' games before the men's games.
Yeah.
I would wonder whether they should change that round and have the men's game before the women's game. So you've got a packed house straight away and not people
filtering in.
Yeah, and they would come in and watch the men's game straight away at, I don't know, it's all about time and finances, I know that. But on a Saturday, like they do with the football, you've got a 2 o'clock kickoff for the men and then a 6 o'clock kickoff for the women, or however it works. You'd have a full house for a long time and the finances would go up even more. Does it help the test arena? No, it doesn't. But it is something at this day and age where you as a youngster was brought up with playing short version of cricket, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And that's where it all stems from. And it's not a bad thing because it gets people playing. When I was playing under 15 cricket, you played 20 overs, but you also played 40 overs, even at under 15s. Whether that will never happen again, I know, but that sort of thing, getting youngsters used to playing the longer version of a game early on, will keep them in the game. I think a lot of kids play a lot of cricket, and when they get to 15, a hell of a lot of them disappear from it because of the length of the game. They're used to playing for an hour and a half batting, an hour and a half fielding, go home. They're not
Yeah.
used to playing Kent League stuff. I know you're not going to have them all coming through, but you're going to maybe keep more talented kids, because a lot of talented kids, in my view, disappear at the age of 15, 16 from our wonderful sport. And if they're that good, then they should be taken through. And you get more kids coming through, you get a greater opportunity for them going all the way and going right to the elite, stages of the game.
Yeah, and we seem to be at a point with the England setup where we have, for the last, since the advent of T20, we've still had that core of good cricketers, the likes of the Joe Roots and the Ben Stokes and the Stuart Broads and the Jimmy Andersons and the Kevin Petersons prior to that. KP was, he was potentially the biggest T20 draw in the world. He that huge first contract he got in the IPL. But now that they've, people have moved on, people have retired, Broad and Anderson are coming to the end of their career, and Joe Root might be coming to the end of his captaincy. He's not coming to the end of his career. But I just don't see who's coming along next, Owen. We've seen the likes of, let's say, Dom Sibley. I mean, interesting technique, but for the 2 or 3 years that he wasn't in the Test side, he was dubbed as, the next Test batsman. He could bat time. He could, he just knew how to occupy time at the wicket. And he came into the Test arena and he was, the flaws in his technique were exposed, but either himself or the coaching system didn't seem to be able to help him.
Yes, once again, mate, like I said earlier, he was touted as being England's next opener, but once again, he averaged 32 in first-class cricket. How can you expect him to come and average 40 plus in Test cricket? Is beyond me. It doesn't make any sense, does it? How can?
Yeah. And I struggle to buy into the theory that the Test wickets are that much better, so they'll come along and they'll enjoy batting on these potentially.
It's farcical because you're facing better bowlers. It'd be like who knows? That's what I said. That's my main qualm with English cricket at the moment. We're bringing people in that just aren't good enough, effectively. But it's quite interesting. Alan, what do you think that? Because I just think to even some of people like Rory and Alex at your place, I couldn't play reverse sweeps and paddles and that. Do you think it 2020 has actually had a positive difference in club cricket and how you is the league better now that you think for in the Prem in first team Prem and first team and second team Prem? Do you reckon it's better now than it used to be, or do you reckon it's just the same as what Stu's been saying already?
It's very interesting. Is it better? The skill sets are different to start with. You talk about reverse sweeps and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The equipment is different. The bats are so much different. And the ball is still the same, virtually. Is it better? I don't know. When I played, I'm harking back here, but when I played on a Saturday for Dover, you knew that there was going to be at least one county player, if not two, in the side you were playing against every week.
Yeah.
Because for a couple of years there was no county cricket on a Saturday, and the county cricketers had to be affiliated to a club and they were told in their contract they had to play. And I think playing with for me at that time, opening the bowling with Chris Penn, who nearly got an England cap. I mean, was a great cricketer, Chris. Certainly made me bowl better because I knew, like, I've got Chris Penn at the other end. I've got to bowl somewhere near as well as he does, or else they're just going to take me apart all the time. And you knew when you were playing, if I bowled, I don't know, played against Ashford, and bowled against Mark Elam, and his dad was playing as well, Alan Elam. If you didn't bowl pretty reasonable, again, you disappeared around the park.
Yeah, I get
So I think it improved club cricketers, leisure cricketers. But is it better now? Go and watch the first team. Yes, it is. The standard of the fielding is sky high, and I think that comes from 2020 cricket and things like that.
Yes, that's the question, isn't it, Stu? Do you know what I mean? Like, if the club cricket's better now, why is it not? But why is the other cricket not better?
Because I think we go to the fact that, you know, county cricket started today. We know that in 6 weeks' time, county cricket stops and they play all the short versions of the game. In years gone by, there wasn't the 20 or the amount of that sort of slow, short cricket, and they played county cricket all the way through. And when they played short cricket, what I might call short cricket, it used to be 60 overs a side.
Yeah.
And people could still bat in 60 overs properly. I know they only used to score 180, and today they would score 500, but again, the equipment's different. So, but I think they've got to play county cricket right the way through the season.
I think for me, and it's an observation, or it's just my feelings, but I think when you look at young, or let's say sort of that age bracket, say 18 to 24 professional cricketers now, I think most of them, if you ask them, I think the majority would want to be short form cricketers. I think they see that where the money is. I think they see where that is, the exposure is. I think that's where they see their future. I might be wrong, but I mean, I think you look at some of these talented batsmen, like someone like Phil Salt, you know, a brilliant cricketer and someone who looks like he's got every shot in the book. And I would assume he sees himself as 5 years from now, potentially getting $1 million IPL contract if he keeps on doing what he's doing. And when England give him that chance, and when he's playing in I think he was over in the sort of the Pakistan Super League,
Caribbean as well,
yeah. They've got to do that. It's their livelihood.
Yeah. So it's tough. I didn't think we'd be able to answer. It's brilliant discussing it, and I think we could discuss this sort of thing forever. You couldn't you? I don't think, like Alan says, that they do need to play county championship cricket throughout the year. They need to be playing it for weeks on end, because a lot of these guys coming through now they see the spinner come. They're programmed to reverse sweep to the field. So their brain is programmed to reverse sweep, to move fielders, to manipulate the field, to then open that cover drive up for the two or whatever, which some will say, that can still work in county cricket, but it doesn't. We know it doesn't. And they're not going to, I think these guys come into county cricket and then they almost have to become county cricketers, rather than 10 years ago when county cricketers became T20 cricketers. I think we're now asking T20 cricketers to become county cricketers.
It's like when we had the bright idea of letting Roy open in the Ashes, wasn't it? He just looked like a fucking rabbit in the headlights, didn't he? Like, It's like, look, farcical how I thought it was ever going to
Well,
work.
the West Indies done that, 25 years ago, Alan, do you remember? And they walloped us over there. I can't remember the two guys' names. They put two guys in who, it was before T20, and they beat us badly in the series over there. Let's move on, because we're sort of getting towards the sort of end of people won't be wanting to listen to us too much more, but it's been a fantastic chat. And hopefully people listening and have enjoyed it. And anyone who is listening, drop us a DM or whatever and come on and talk about something else in the future. But I haven't put an 11 together. I've asked Alan and Eoin to sort of come up with an 11 for the first summer English test of the year. And I also want to know who's going to captain this test side, who's going to manage this or who's going to coach this test side, and who's going to be the director of cricket. So Alan's given us an 11 already. We'll come to him second, though. And let's go to you first. Talk me through your captain, coach, and director of cricket, and then get on to the 11 who's going to start.
Okay. So this person, I love listening to him on the telly, and he's picking up a bit of traction. And he's a Kentonian, so I'm going Rob Key as managing director.
Rob Key as director of cricket.
I think he's quite progressive. The only thing I would say about him is that he's quite pally with quite a lot of the team still, isn't he, and stuff. So I don't know if that would work. I don't know but like Alan said, he is involved in cricket. He knows what an infrastructure is, doesn't he? So
yeah, maybe. No, it's. I was surprised. I was surprised to read it in the papers 10 days ago and on the internet. But when you actually think about it, it might be a bit out there, but it's not as crazy as it initially sounds.
No, well, if Strauss has done it, why can Key not do it?
Yeah, I mean, Strauss was a bit better.
Yeah, but what does that make you a better managing director?
No, you're right.
Just like any good football manager seems to, the ones in the cuffs didn't seem to make it.
So Rob Key, I hope you've had a good thing, because if Rob Key's directing this lot, we're going to have a similar thinking coach, are we, Eoin?
I've gone Justin Langer.
Cool, I can see a clash there already, but I like it. I think Mr. Langer likes to be a bit more in charge, but yeah. Yeah,
I think, like you said, I think we need a foreign person in charge as the coach. It's either maybe I don't think Ponting would be up for it, and I thought about maybe Joel Wardner, but they're two. Langer's done a test team, Joel Wardner, etc. Singakara, they're all just tapped up by IPL contracts. They get paid the same money for 8 weeks' work. I don't think they're gonna come.
Yeah, so they don't have to be in a bubble for the next 18 months, because that's what that England schedule, as all test schedules are, but that England schedule, it's scheduled around Ashes series, really.
Like I said, I think they've got someone from that's too matey with Silverwood.
Yeah.
And I think they need a bit of tough love, so I've gone Langer. And then captain, who else? I thought
you can stick with the current captain.
No, yeah, but Root, and when Root took over from Cook, I feel like they were at a different point. Do you know what I mean? Cook was basically over the hill at that point, although he has a ton today. But I don't think Stokes will take it. So I honestly, I don't think Stokes will take it. He's the only I've put Burns as a question mark next to it, but is he going to be in the test team?
Is he going to be in the Surrey team? He's Surrey captain, but...
So, I think Langer would keep Root, and I think Rob Key would keep Root, so I'm sticking with Root.
I mean, I haven't got an 11, but when I was thinking about it, I had Joe Root to captain the first test.
Yeah.
So talk me through the batting. We'll talk through the 11, but talk me through the batting, because I'm always, I think the hot topic for 15 years has been England opening batsmen, or who was going to open with Alistair Cook for all those years, or since Strauss retired. But talk me through your openers then, Eoin.
Well, we've got this ridiculous obsession with having a left-hand, right-hand combination, haven't we?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I've put Crawley in. There's a batsman there, isn't there? I'm not convinced with this team, but Crawley's going to open.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Lees has done enough for me in the Caribbean.
I've got to be honest. I haven't seen much cricket. I don't have BT Sport. I'd never heard of him. I have to be honest. I'd never heard of him when he came into the side.
Mid-30s again in first-class cricket.
Okay. But has he got your nod to open?
No, I'm bringing Alistair Cook back in here at 100 days. again.
You know what, Owen? That's absolutely fine. It's your 11. Alistair Cook is recalled. That's great. Is Joe Root going to bat at 3?
Yeah, Root 3.
So, yep. So talk us through 4 then.
I've gone Lawrence still. I think there's a match winner there if he can get his head switched on. His technique's horrendous, but who says you need technique?
He's got that technique. And yes, I mean, I would fancy, I was never much of a bowler, but I look at him and think, I'd just float you 6 half volleys outside off stump and you're going to snick one off, even if it's me bowling. But there's not much out there to choose from. So
no. Then I've gone Stokes and Bairstow.
Bairstow. Yeah, so I think, solid.
Yeah, I think Bairstow's the most underrated Test cricket that we've underplayed and screwed around. He's got fight. He's got a bit of dog.
Agreed.
And it's how he's been messed around for Butler for so long. I just don't understand.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I agree, and I think you've hit the nail on the head there that he has been messed around. He's one that there's this question whether he should keep wicket, but I think he's done enough in international cricket to justify himself as a batsman. There's always seems to be people seem to take issue with his body type, suggesting he's a bit unfit because he looks a bit weighty, but he certainly doesn't act like it in the field.
Didn't he? And when he runs between the wickets, he's rapid.
Yeah, he's a gun cricketer, really, for me.
Yeah, and then I've gone Folkes to keep.
Yeah.
And then 8, 9, 10 can kind of bat wherever.
Go on then. You're smiling. What rabbit are you going to pull out of this hat then?
So I've dropped Broad for the first test
because he's playing second division cricket.
Yeah, just for the paper columns that they get. And
so you've dropped him, and really, if you've dropped him for the England first set of the English summer, you've basically retired him from international cricket.
So I'm going to skip from 7 to 11. So I'm going to work backwards. So I've gone Anderson at 11.
Right, good choice. We don't need to talk about Jimmy, do we?
Ollie Robinson at 10.
He stayed away from Twitter, and he's allowed on the international, and he's fit, is he? Because
he's from South East Kent.
Yes. Does he just while does he need to get himself a bit fitter, Owen?
He just needs to go to see he needs to get on like a proper strength and conditioning plan and just get himself into some.
And can he take Mark Wood with him then?
Yeah, but I think Mark Wood's probably pushes himself the other way too much, doesn't he? I think Robinson's a lack of fitness, where Mark Wood is just pure stress on like the mechanics of his body, I think. So
that was number 10. Was that Ollie Robinson at 10? So
I've gone Jofra 9, back fit. Yeah, the forgotten man, really. The forgotten man since that World Cup final almost. And yeah, obviously I would have Mark Wood in at 8, but he's not fit. That would mean Root would be my lead spinner with Dan Lawrence as a part-timer. But I've put Best, Parkinson, and Leach question mark at 8, and I still can't pick one of them because I think they're all shit.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, why not give Parkinson the chance that they've given Leach and certainly Don Best? I mean, for me, I'm sure Don Best is a thoroughly nice chap, but I'd fancy getting my bat out the loft if I saw him in the opposition.
There we go then. Parkinson it is at 8.
I really would. Yeah, I mean, there we go. I like that, Owen. I like Sir Alistair back in the setup, and soon to be Sir Stuart. He's banished from international cricket. You've retired Stuart Broad and brought Alistair Cook back. Alan, that's a bit of a tough one to follow. Talk us?
No, it's not really.
Who's anything different in the management structure for you?
I didn't realise Owen had texted me what he was going to put down. So, so I've gone with the same 3, to be honest. Mr. Langer, Mr. Key, and Mr. Root.
Well, that's good. I mean, and we can. We talked about Justin Langer. I think there was a bit of talk. Sadly, Shane Warne's no longer with us. There was a bit of talk potentially of him doing it, but I think Langer's got that pedigree. I don't like Owen said about Ben Stokes. I can't see. He's the obvious choice. Stuart Broad's potentially another good choice, but Stuart Broad would be a backward step for me. And I like the idea of Rob Key. Rob Key wouldn't be my choice. I don't know who would, but but you two have agreed on it, so that's pretty good. So
Well, I don't
talk
know
us
if it
through
is, is it?
the problematic opening positions, Alan.
Well, if we could go back a long time, I'd like to have Mr. Langer and Mr. Key to no. I'd go with young Mr. Crawley, having played against him 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Never managed to snick him off or do anything, just saw it disappear around the park from when he was about 15 years old. So
Where did he play at then, Alan?
at the Vine, Seven Oaks Vine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very talented young man, and he's gone through to prove it, I think. I think he is one for the future. I just think we've got to persevere with him. I do think he's test match caliber. I do think he's that class.
And a few people have said, I don't know, it was an Australian, I don't think it was Justin Langer, but someone said recently that he's the sort of guy that England...
Steve Waugh, wasn't it?
Steve Waugh, just give him a year, give him a contract, play him in every match and give him a year.
Yeah. What did Graham Gooch do when he started? He was awful as well.
Yeah.
And many others as well. I just let him play. I think he is the England #1 for the next 10, 15 years, to be honest.
And hopefully Mr. Atherton's boy can come along. He scored some runs today, but he's got a different surname, hasn't he? But anyway, sorry, to open with Creepy Crawley.
I might be a bit controversial here and go with Mr. Root to open Mr. Crawley.
Well, why?
If skipper from the front, get out there. Don't wait for a few balls to pass by and then you're out there. Get out there straight away and face it up.
Yeah, it's that argument, isn't it? That is your best player wasted at why have your best player at number 3 if he's in the first 5 overs every single match?
Exactly. Yeah. Get out there and take it.
Yeah.
And if you're standing at the other end from Crawley for the first over, you're going to see what the ball's doing straight away from close up.
Yeah.
Moving to 3, I've got Mr. Lawrence in there. I think he's a very big talent. And okay, we've got a few at the moment who are not performing, but every side goes through that. And if you get in what they think as a management structure are the best players, even though they might not be at the moment, they can go forward and be those best players. And again, I think Lawrence is one of those that has got that potential to go through and be an England cricketer for a long time.
No, yeah.
Following that, again, maybe a bit high in the batting order, but Mr. Livingston.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I like the way he plays. I think he's someone who does show that he can play 20-20 cricket as well as I think he can play Test cricket.
Yeah, and he does. He potentially feels he is a genuine all rounder, really, isn't he?
Yeah, he's one of those guys. Well, I know it's very obvious which one he's going to bowl, but he does bowl off and leg it. So
yeah.
And then at 5, I'd have Stokes if he's fit.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. He's always in the Test side. Then comes one that I know Owen doesn't like, but there you go. I'd have Mr. Butler to keep wicket. And Shane Warne used to say it all the time, like I've just said about Crawley and what Steve Owen said, what Steve Waugh said. Like Shane Warne has said that, or did say that man needs to be in the England Test side for the foreseeable future. Absolutely, I totally agree with that.
Yeah. So is he going to keep for you, Alan?
No, he's going to keep. Yeah, and then I've got Bairstow to follow him.
Good.
Exactly the same. I think he's been mucked around too much, and he should have just been left to play. And I think he would have had another 4 or 5 tons under his belt by now if he'd been left to play in it.
Yeah.
And then I've got no real spinner, but then you've got Root and Livingston. So I've got pick one from any order: Anderson, Broad, Mahmood, and Robinson.
Yeah, I think that's about as good as it gets, really. I mean, Overton Test cricket seems to be one step too far for him.
Yeah.
Mahmood is probably the best future option, and when you look at the likes of Broad and Anderson, then he needs to be playing Test cricket as much as possible.
I think with Broad and Anderson, you need them still in the side to bring through one new player. I think they've done that with Ollie Robinson already. And then your Mahmood is your next man to come through, who is quick, and bowls in the right places. He just needs time bowling in Test match cricket. So therefore, he'd probably be, in my book, the one who would take Anderson's place when Anderson retires. And I think he's still got a couple of 3 years, but I think that would be that 4 as a seam tack with Stokes when fit is massive. I know you've got to get a spinner in, but I don't know. Having seen Root bowl over the years a little bit, I think he's probably as good as any spinner we got in the country. Anyway.
Yeah, and that's captains are famously will go one way or the other, won't they? They'll overbowl themselves or they'll underbowl themselves. I think Joe Root has probably underbowled himself. You look at someone like when Michael Clarke used to get bowled before he took over the captaincy and had that famous sort of Test match against India where he won the game and then didn't really bowl himself quite so much when he took the captaincy on. But how much? Just one final question, really, guys. How much do you to see Ben Stokes as a bowling option going forward? Is he going to transition to the batsman, the world-class batsman that he is, who bowls 5 to 10 overs in innings, or is he still, can you see him? Are we ever going to get back to that Ben Stokes really being that fifth bowler who's potentially better than one of your bowlers on a good day, or are those times behind him?
Personally, I think that it is about his fitness. And if he is fit, he is that bowler.
Yeah.
Whether he is the one who bowls 20 overs in a day is another question. I think he's a bowler who may bowl you, let's pick a number out, 12 to 15 overs maybe.
Yeah.
But he is that guy who comes on and like years gone by, Mr. Botham, he would come on and take a wicket for you. And if things aren't going right, bowling 15 overs, if Broad and Anderson not producing, then he is the man. And I think it's a matter of, it's what everybody, isn't it? It's fitness. Stokes has had injuries for 5, 6, 7 years. But having said that, how many elite sportsmen could say they're 100% fit? I don't know. Not many, I would think.
Certainly not under the stresses and strains of the bowling duties or the all-round duties. And, Ben Stokes, with that high profile, he's had his off-field problems, but that high profile comes with a lot of away from the pitch benefits, but they come with time. And we know with Ben Stokes, he's been very honest with the toll it's taken on his mental health somewhat.
Yeah,
Eoin, we've pretty much wrapped it up, but anything else you want to sort of say on the current state of the English game, or have we done enough today?
No, I've quite enjoyed that chat. Actually, we're basically Test match special now, aren't we?
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll probably get 50 or 60 views and listens across the 2 platforms. Alan, anything you want to add before we call it a day?
I think we're certainly special, but I don't know in what form. But no, I'd like to wish Eoin and his Walmer boys the greatest of seasons, and hopefully you go up. I think the players you've got in that side, you should be playing a higher standard of cricket than you really are. So good luck to you.
Cheers, Mossy. I appreciate that, mate. And obviously all the best to you too.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers, Mossy, mate. Appreciate that.
I will say thank you to Eoin. Thank you to Alan for being our first. I won't call you our first overseas player, Alan. Our first local legend. I hope the legend doesn't, I mean that in a positive way, not a negative way. But Alan and Eoin, thank you for joining me on episode 2 of the Walmer CC podcast for season 2022. Thank you very much, gents.
Cheers, mate.